But I do think for the first time in that I can ever remember in a search, even going back to when they plugged McHale in, Glenn has never had a process like they're going through right now, and we'll see if that pans out or not.
That seems to be the one ray of hope.
Right,
Ethan Casson, and I don't pretend to like hang out with him or anything, but I mean, he seems really smart, and there's a process. And on the business side, they have figured things out.
Yeah.
So you just hope that some of that brilliance on the business side, and there does seem to be a method. And I will say this, when the 4 candidates came out, 5 originally, but the 4, everybody was like, wow.
Yeah.
Like, these are 4, like, I would take any of these 4. It wasn't like 2 and 2 clowns or 4 and 1. You know, it was like, wow, all 4 have strengths and weaknesses, but at least it seemed to make sense. And so, again, I know think everyone's going to die in Games of Thrones and you're all negative Nelly, but I mean, like, that is the ray of light for us fans, that it does seem to be different. And you just hope that the process does work out.
I want to talk about Ethan and what I also remember about the David Kahn hiring and why it felt just doomed from the start. Do want to thank SodaStick, sodastick.com. They have the Hendy's Garage hats we've told you about. The cool thing is they are now doing a special shirt honoring Marnie Gellner's historic call. Celebrate Marnie Gellner's historic call and get your limited edition Better Call Mama shirt today. Go to sodastick.com, and you also will get free the 1991 socks that honor the last Twins World Series victory. Go ahead, Steve.
I'm going to buy that shirt, and I need Marnie to sign it.
Absolutely.
Marnie's awesome.
She will.
But I honestly think that I can speak for Marnie. I'm going to be her agent right now. If you buy that shirt and you see her, she will sign it.
No question.
Oh,
no question.
It.
It would be awesome.
Yeah.
You could frame it. I mean, I'd never wash it. When she shakes my hand, I never wash my hands. It's just like you just look at it like.
The great thing is Marnie would sign it and add a little insult.
Yes.
You know, she'd give you a little jab, too.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
She's tremendous.
So check out sodastick.com, buy the Marnie shirt, tell me you want it, and I'll make sure Marnie signs it for you. Marnie's awesome. So check out sodastick.com for all their stuff, but especially the Marnie stuff. So here's my, John, you've covered the Timberwolves way longer than I have, but I remember they hired David Kahn, and I was writing a column about it. I called a bunch of people. I was like, who is this guy? And the most common answer was, I have no idea. The other answer was, oh, that guy? I mean, this is me. This is not like deep sources, not NBA executives. This is just people kind of who know the league. So I'm standing like near the podium. They're about to announce David Kahn, right? And later, somebody would tell me that David Kahn was backstage, and he picked up the Star Tribune, and he saw like the headline, David Kahn to be hired, whatever, and he read my column, and he goes, who's this bleepity bleep? Because I had ripped the hiring, right? I had 2 VPs like walk up to me and go, how can you not like David Kahn? I said, well, I made some calls. This guy is not an NBA general manager. Like, he was Donnie Walsh's right-hand man.
No, he was not.
And he was not. These were key people high in the Timberwolves organization who didn't know that David Kahn had nothing to do with Indiana's relative basketball success. Yeah. So that's the hopeful thing, is that Ethan Casson does Casson. I screw up pronunciations all the time. My apologies. I don't know him really well, but we do have mutual friends, and I know when he got the job, I had a bunch of people tell me, hey, this guy's really sharp. So we'll see, but this is not the same thing as stumbling around the dark the way they have way too often. Yeah,
and even I still traumatically remember that David Kahn experience, because like I had covered the Pacers before I moved back to cover the Timberwolves, and when his name first surfaced, I had covered the Pacers for 2 years, and David Kahn was not around there at all. They had kind of pushed him off into a corner, and you never saw him, you never knew about him. And so, like, when reports first started coming out, like, the Timberwolves are interested in David Kahn, Indiana Pacers, Donnie Walsh's right-hand man, and I just said to myself, I'm like, who, like, what kind of beat reporter was I that was on the Pacers beat for 2 years, and I never met this guy? Like, how am I missing this? And, like, I knew Donnie well, and I called him, I just said, Donnie, what's going on here? And no, he terrible. And I called a couple other people in the Pacers organization, and we put him on the Conseco Fieldhouse project because we wanted to get him away from the basketball side of things and have this occupy. And then I made calls to the G League or the D League at the time, and he had like outstanding debts with sponsors and stuff like this. And I presented all of this information that I had to the Wolves before they hired him. I said, look, if you're going to hire him, just understand, I'm going to report all this stuff. Like, this is legit. And they kind of ignored it. And so, like, almost every story that you write off of a first hire, it's good. It's good news. Hey, he did this and this and this. The Wolves think he's going to do this and this and this. I had a sponsor quoted saying, I wouldn't trust David Kahn as far as I could throw him in my story, like in the thing. And so, but yeah, so like that goes to like, they just ignored all of the outside evidence. Like, with this, and even so, then even you go Kahn to Flip, like Glenn just knew Flip and was kind of talking to him about possibly selling the team and all those things. And then that kind of, those conversations turned into, hey, Flip, why don't you come back here and help me out? There was no real search there.
Right.
Then it goes to the Tibbs thing, and it's Korn Ferry. It's this outside search firm that has no freaking idea of matching personalities with personalities and all these other things. So they botch it all. And so what Ethan has done is, at least he has established, his boots are on the ground in Minnesota. He has done a ton of research into what this organization wants from a leader, and now he's trying to find people that fit that. Now, maybe the profile that he's looking for is the wrong one. We'll see. But you at least understand that it's going to, there's going to be a meshing of philosophies and approaches that hasn't been here in a while. And so it makes a greater chance of success. It doesn't guarantee it, though.
I want to thank Bite Squad, bitesquad.com. Easy for me to say. Also, use the Bite Squad app. It's the easiest way to do it. You download your information. Everything's very quick. I ordered dinner from there the other day. It showed up. Great restaurant near me. Delivered. I didn't have to do dishes. I didn't have to wait in line. I didn't have to. Heck, it's even a minimal tip if you want to be cheap about it. Now they are delivering breakfast. They will deliver lunch to your office. You never have to do dishes or anything else. And if you use the promo code TALKNORTH, you get your first delivery fee waived. You mentioned, Ethan, on the business side. That is an interesting angle here too. Is this guy he might have the capability of seeing both sides, where so often in pro sports, people are either good at business or they're good at the game. They're not good at both.
I mean, here's the thing: is that I'm sitting here listening to John, and I'm just like even more upset, because I read the article and I remember David Kahn, and I think the connection was David Stern.
Yep.
Said, hey, this is my boy, you should hire him, and that was good enough. I did my own research. I know a couple people who worked at the Pacers, and there's other stories that we're not going to get into that are insane.
Yes, there are.
Like, maybe you can Google them. But so I'm sitting here like, I'm a nobody, and I figured this out. Like, that's just absolute incompetence, okay?
Yeah.
And it's just so frustrating because I'm sitting here and I'm like, you can rehash this, like, we missed on Curry twice. Klay Thompson,
DeMarcus Cousins.
DeMarcus is on and on and on. And these type of incompetent decisions, they're 10 to 15 year consequences. I mean, we might have a different team if we had Curry and Thompson in our backcourt. I'm just suggesting perhaps it'd be different. Hell, what if Tibbs didn't pick Chris Dunn and had picked the two people we all wanted? We were all together that night.
Yep.
I was yelling Buddy.
Buddy Hield.
How about Jamal Murray?
Yeah.
I don't know. He turned out pretty good.
Yep.
And again, I know nothing, but I'm like, I don't know. How about the dude who can hit a jumper? No, we picked the one who can play defense and can't hit anything. Now he's traded and got his teeth knocked out because he fell off on a dunk. I mean, it's so maddening. And so I'm sitting here, I'm like, okay, calm down. People didn't die at Game of Thrones. Calm down. But we have Cat. Every decision needs to center around him. We cannot mess this up. And then we have a few good pieces, which goes back to one of these four. We cannot keep making these mistakes.
Right.
You cannot keep missing. We have the number 10 pick, maybe worse, or however it works with the lottery, but you have to start hitting. Because even if, you like your boy, what's his name, Kobe White?
Yeah.
Okay, love him. I love the hair, everything else, right? But even if you did pick him, Okay, remember Jamal Murray? He missed his first 21 shots in the NBA. Remember this? Everybody's like, "Oh, he's a bust."
Yeah.
My friends were like, "Oh, you wanted him." I'm like, "Well, now he's making shots."
Buddy started out slow too.
Yeah, he did.
Right.
Yep.
He was traded for DeMarcus.
Yeah.
The other dude we could have had. Like all our players are traded anyway. But now, again, year 2, 3, 4, it's a long-term investment. So even if we hit on Colby, it's not like he's coming in next year like Donovan Mitchell. That's very rare. So now you're 2-3 years out. You can't keep missing because then you're another half a decade down the road.
Well, yeah, and that goes back to kind of what I've spoken about all season about whoever they hire here has to have as like priority number one in the biggest tool in his toolbox has to be player development and has to be establishing an environment where you bring people in and you develop them into better players over 2, 3, 4 years. What player on this team has gotten better over the last 3 years in the Tibbs system? No one except Cat.
And when he left, when Tibbs left.
Exactly. But Cat is, again, one of those special breeds that was going to get better no matter what. Like, he has his own thing. He did not see any Timberwolves officials all summer long. He worked all by himself. Same with, everybody on the team scattered. And so any kind of internal improvement that's on Cat and Cat alone, essentially. And then, Ryan comes in and helps to maybe structure the system around him. Like, oh, shocking, maybe we should feature one of the best offensive players in the league a little bit more. Maybe you think that's a good idea. And so, that helps. But, whether if Tibbs would have drafted Buddy or Jamal Murray, would they have been what they are now? No, because they ignore young players. That was their system, was give me old guys who are ready to compete right away, who I don't have to coach that way. And so that was the wrong system to put. And so you need to put in place guys who will draft people, not just in the first round, not just at pick 10, but at pick 41. Right? And that bring in second-round picks and at least make them serviceable guys, and maybe every 3 or 4 years you hit on one that can kind of jump up and be a starter for you.
You mean like Draymond Green?
Exactly. But even not even like Draymond, who is all-world, or Jokic, who is all-world, but just like a serviceable guy who can, maybe Keita is going to be that guy. But they just... This team is not going to have the salary cap space and does not have the weather, franchise pedigree, and all those other things to attract a bunch of free agents to put around Cat. So it's getting players like in Houston, they got Danielle House and Clint Capella lower in the draft, and turn them into all-star or rotation players.
How about Toronto? Siakam.
Exactly.
I mean, he was 20-something.
Yeah, yep. Exactly, 100%. Guys like that. Okogie looks like he might be a guy like that. A feather in the cap of Tibbs Layden for that. But that's going to be the key going forward. Denver got Monty Morris and Malik Beasley and Gary Harris and these other guys. And so Brooklyn has Karis LeVert, and they got D'Angelo Russell in trade and help bring the best out of him. So they have guys from different backgrounds with a history of identifying talent that isn't the most, anyone can make the number one pick and have a pretty good chance of succeeding, but it's getting guys at 20, at 28, at 36 in the free agent market for not that much money, and putting them in a system that caters to their talents and lets them take off.
None of this is going to matter when we get number one and draft Zion.
Well, then we're going to the finals, and that's all that matters. So.
Exactly.
All right, we're going to talk about Game of Thrones now. If you're not interested, you're dismissed.
Our producer Brandon is super stoked.
Brandon doesn't know what we're talking about and thinks we're all very silly for investing our time in this. And Brandon doesn't know what the hell he's talking about.
No, not at all.
So thank you to TSR Injury Law, SodaStick.com, and Bite Squad.
That's why Brandon doesn't have a microphone.
It's a very good point. So I love John's reaction because Steve and I were in here trying to explain to Brandon why we would invest so much of our lives watching Game of Thrones. And John comes in and he's like, again, to quote him, I was watching, I was like, this is not going well. It did look like everybody was going to die. And as Steve, as we were talking, I mean, not that I'm prescient or anything, but I'm sitting there thinking, okay, every time they have one of their own people killed, that person is going to